Hello, I'm Acacia, the Executive Director of the Kamloops Chamber of Commerce, and we're here today to have 5 minutes with the Chamber. So I'm happy to introduce our Chamber President, Tyson Andrykew. He is the Regional Director with the Sandman Hotel Group, and I'm going to be asking him a few questions today. How are you doing, Tyson?
Great, Acacia. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining me. So first question, on May 6th, the Chamber Board publicly endorsed the Canadian Chamber's key considerations to help businesses reopen the economy. What should our business community be doing today to prepare to reopen?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think businesses should be using this time to lay the groundwork of how they're going to open with physical distancing measures in place. As we've worked through this pandemic together, cleanliness and exercising physical distancing as much as possible are going to be critical to ensuring both employee safety and consumer confidence. Right now, we're going to be up against consumer confidence as restrictions start to relax and economies start to slowly move again. Businesses should be talking with others in the industry, consulting with associations that they belong to, like the Chamber, and using that information to draft policies and procedures for their own businesses to follow once they resume operations.
Thank you. No, and you're definitely right. We're hearing in our data from the BC Mindreader survey that our businesses are worried about their consumers' ability to pay, but their confidence in their stores. So I think you're absolutely right with the planning being a critical part to reopening. Our second question, we have heard that members were not able to access the benefits from the government support systems. Some fell through the cracks. How can they let their voice be heard?
Yeah, it's a tough one. If you're a business that sadly didn't qualify for some of the relief that was provided or that's being currently provided, you shouldn't suffer in silence. You got to make your voice heard. So it's important that you raise those issues with industry associations that you belong to, and with groups like the Chamber. I mean, the Chamber, we are the voice of business, and primarily we're the voice of small business that traditionally has issues getting their voices heard. And you can bet that if you're falling through the cracks of these government relief programs, there's likely many others like you. And we know for sure, based on our talks with members, that there certainly are quite a few out there that are in this predicament. So the Chamber needs to hear your story, and those other associations do too, if you've got some industry associations that you belong to. But at the Chamber, we relay those issues to the appropriate level of government. And collectively, our voice is so much stronger. So businesses need to band together and make sure that these issues are being heard.
Thank you. How does our local economy in Kamloops currently compare to others throughout BC? Are we doing okay?
Yeah, I don't think that any economy right now, local or otherwise, can really have the ability to say that they're doing okay. The impacts of this pandemic are so far-reaching and so severe, and it happened so quickly that we've essentially been reacting the whole time, which is never a position that we want to be in. So, it's already impacted all industries, and most of those impacts, the vast majority of them have been negative. Very few are saying that they're doing better or as good as they were before. So what I will say is that prior to the pandemic, Kamloops had a really well diversified economy, I would say, by many standards, and I think it was enviable by many other cities in our area and of our size. I would like to believe that a local economy as well diversified as ours is well suited to recover quickly from this.
Some businesses may not open due to fear of spreading the virus. What advice do you have for them?
Well, as an independent business owner, obviously you're well within your right to not operate. So they can certainly do that. But I do believe that we can't be driven by fear. We can't let fear control us. So if you're a business that is concerned about the implications of COVID-19 and operating during this, once again, you've got to reach out. You've got to do the research. Groups like ours, like the Chamber, other industry associations right now, if they haven't already released some common practices and best practices that they're seeing, they're working on it. Contact neighboring businesses and others in your industry about innovative ways to eliminate high touch points or severely reduce the use of those high touch points. And if you have to, then and you can't do that, then how those high touch points can be cleaned and how you can operate safely for your employees and for the consumers as well, your guests.
One thing too, I think that's important to mention is that we've been hearing from WorkSafe BC that there will be templates available for employers that people can download, things like posters and signage and templates for preparedness plans around pandemics. So I think it's also important to note that businesses don't have to do this alone and that everyone is trying to help them get used to the new normal. Our next question is, which industries do you think are going to be critical to reboot the Kamloops economy?
Yeah, so my answer to this will probably be a little bit biased, just based on my background, but I do believe it to be objectively true. So the impact of the visitor economy to Kamloops businesses, I don't think can be understated. The Tournament Capital brand hinges on our ability and the ability of people to come here, but it hinges on our ability to host large sporting events, tournaments, gatherings, that sort of thing. When you look at a business like Rocky Mountaineer, they alone bring in over 100,000 visitors to this city, right? More than the population of the city, they bring in that every year in a 6-month span. Large conventions and conferences bring tens of thousands of others to the city each year. Events, leisure, business travel, sports, all of that are major drivers for hotels, restaurants, bars, breweries, wineries, you name it, right? And retailers. And the spin-off impact of those visitor dollars in the economy is just tremendous. And it's also coincidentally and unsurprisingly due to COVID-19, nearly all of those industries have entirely dried up and all of those drivers. And the hospitality and service industries are probably the most severely hit, if not one of the most severely hit, and are going to take a long time to recover. So between the restrictions on international travel and the restrictions on large gatherings, those major drivers are just major drivers of visitation to our city are just non-existent. So until such a time that those elements can kind of return to our economy, which based on the announcements on Wednesday are likely, when a vaccine gets created, before those restrictions get lifted, we're going to kind of be limping through this still.
Oh, absolutely. And, I was reading an article from our partners at Tourism Kamloops, and I think Bev used a pretty descriptive word that it's just devastating. And it's absolutely right in hearing those comments from our own members. In your opinion, what is the biggest opportunity Kamloops businesses can take advantage of? Is it e-commerce, pivoting? What do you think?
That's a tough one. I think there's quite a few opportunities out there. The one that really stands out to me, and I would just say that, with any crisis like this, you can always point to a couple of positives amongst a sea of negatives. And I think the positives here, it's that it forces businesses and individuals to get creative, right, with any crisis. And when we look at this one particularly, I think there's an impact to our environment that's been kind of talked about, and the impact of less vehicle travel, right, less air travel, and it's an interesting one to look at. And I think there's an opportunity for businesses here. Many businesses have had to move to, having employees virtually work, right, which before, in my industry in hotels, we had almost no one that did this. And now, a lot of senior leadership and support teams, anyone that doesn't physically need to be there is currently at home. And there's obviously some savings here, from travel expenses of employees, office space, office equipment, other amenities that we would have in the hotel. specifically for employees are no longer needed or not to the volume that they were before. So I think, this has maybe opened the eyes of some businesses that utilizing telecommuting has tremendous savings potentials for businesses, and they might move to this more permanently even after this crisis is done.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a really good point. We're seeing that with a lot of our membership too. So I think that's about all the questions I have for today. I'd love to end it on a nice one. Do you have any plans for this lovely weekend with the lovely weather we're having?
Yeah, I'm really good at neglecting my lawn and outdoor space at my home, so I'm probably gonna try and not do that this weekend now that it's nice again.
Excellent. Well, it sounds great. Well, thanks for joining me. Have an awesome weekend.
You too. Thanks, Acacia.
Okay. Nice. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's fun.